Over the next 30 minutes, I'll be breaking down the website framework that consistently generates high intent organic leads for insurance agencies through their website. My company, Wirechunk, has built over 1,000 websites for insurance agencies. We know what works, we know what doesn't work, we have the data, and we've consolidated this all into a really simple framework. I'm going to go over the most common shortfalls, what actually works, our 5P framework, and how you can implement this for yourself today. Then I'll show you how you can leverage AI to build a high converting website for yourself. Now, let's start with where most agencies underperform. Most agency sites are what we call brochureware. So these are pages or entire websites that are copied or repurposed from carrier information, carrier marketing materials, or other insurance agency websites. What they do is they describe products, but they don't actually guide a visitor on a journey to take an action, which is get into your pipeline. Also, just as common is we see websites that are made by designers that don't actually have any experience in the insurance industry. So what they're doing is they're taking best practices from other industries, whether that be SaaS or home service businesses. And usually there is some overlap, but it's not always a good fit. So what we get is information that might be factual and accurate, but it doesn't actually contribute to a visitor's journey from landing on your website, landing on a page, to contacting you through a form or giving you a call. So most of the time, it doesn't actually move the needle at all. So how are you going to know if you have one of these brochureware websites? Well, did you repurpose material from a carrier or somebody else? Do you have really low form submission? Do you have high bounce rates? So are people landing on your website and then immediately leaving a couple seconds later? And do you have content that search engines like Google will actually show in search results? If you're seeing any of these, it's all right. You're not alone. And thankfully, it can be fixed. This fix is swapping this brochureware with an actual system, that system being the 5P framework. The 5P framework is positioning, pages, proof, performance, and pipeline. So this is a checklist, a flywheel, and the journey that we want our customers to go through. It's a checklist because there are some things that we need to do to be effective, and the best way to think about those and track them is through a checklist. This is a flywheel because when all these pieces are working, they're all mutually reinforcing, creating this really strong system that can handle really serious volume. And then it's the journey that we want our customers to go through. It's a journey that's smooth and makes sense to ultimately get them where we want them, which is at the beginning of our pipeline. This also helps us audit any part of our website. So we can start at the beginning and ask ourselves, does this do what I want? Which is to qualify visitors and get the right people to contact us. So going into each part of the 5P framework, our positioning starts at our landing pages. And most of the time, this is our homepage. Visitors are going to get the who, what, and why. This is then going to be reinforced on pages where we're going to communicate specific value to specific people. These could be product pages like for auto insurance or home insurance or life insurance. Or it could be our blog, which we'll talk about later. We're then going to use proof on these same pages to reinforce our who, what, and why. Then we're going to validate all of this with performance. And this is a mixture of the design and some of the technical, so the stuff that you see and the stuff behind the scenes that you don't see. And then we're going to get them into our pipeline. And most of the time, this is going to be through a form submission, but it could be through a phone call or a text message. And then when we put all this together, we get this cohesive, buttery smooth user experience that takes someone from a total stranger to an exclusive lead in our pipeline. We've had some agencies that we've worked with that will see their first organic lead within a week, and then some that are doing more than 30 a month. So let's start at the beginning and go over positioning. Positioning is our first filter. It tells the right visitor that they're in the right spot and gives them their next steps. If it can't be skimmed in 3 seconds, it's not positioning. So let's take a look at some examples. I'm going to be showing all of this inside of Wirechunk, the complete website platform and site builder that uses this natural language AI interface down here to make building an entire website or just making a few updates, super simple. So our positioning starts in our hero section, and this should answer 3 things really fast. Who you serve, what outcome you deliver, and why you're a good choice, or who, what, and why. Being niche is always going to beat being generic. So if we look at a bad example is home, truck, and boat insurance in Florida. This is just very generic, and there's probably 1,000 other agencies just in Florida that would say this exact same thing. A better positioning statement would be ensure your home, truck, and boat quote to coverage same day, trusted by 2,500 Floridians. So we're saying who we serve, homeowners, truck owners, boat owners, and in Florida, what we deliver, get a quote and get covered in the same day, and why we're a good choice. Well, over 2,500 other people have picked us, so we're probably doing something right. We want to be using plain language, no industry or technical jargon. If we have a local focus, we want to emphasize that. If we have a specialty that's unique, that's something that we want to highlight. And then this uniqueness and geographic blend should be focused. We should blend both of those focuses inside of our positioning. If we serve a really big geographic area, we can be a little bit more generic, but we can still include what makes us unique. So instead of saying insurance for Alaska, Arizona, California, Colorado, and all these other states, what we can say is helping families save on home and auto across 14 states since 1993. So we're still providing the same information, but we're able to add in our who, what, and why inside of our positioning statement. Then we want to back this up with 2 or 3 proof points. So these can be review count, turnaround time, number of carriers that we use, years in the business, or our customer count. So some that we like to use is 700 plus 5-star reviews, quote in 5 minutes, 40 plus insurance carriers licensed in X number of states since whatever year the agency was started, or 3rd generation family agency. Last is we want to include one singular primary call to action. If we're going to do this through buttons, we don't want 5 options. Ideally 1, maybe 2 in some situations. The one call to action button should be the first step of our pipeline. And most of the time, this is going to be a quote request form. So some CTAs that we know work really well are get a quote, get your quote, start your quote, get a consultation, book a consultation. Something that we found to work really well is just to skip the button entirely and then just put the first step of the form in the hero section. No one's confused. Everybody knows what's required. We're eliminating a click, and if someone is a really high intent buyer, they get right into your pipeline immediately. If you choose to go with a button, please do not link to a contact page or some quote page or another page. This is where we see a 60% drop-off rate when you link to another page. Instead of linking to another page, just open that first step of your form on that page as a pop-up. And if you're using Wirechunk, even though this is a multi-step form, once the first step is completed, it's going to hit your pipeline through AgencyZoom, HighLevel, AgencyMVP, whatever integration you use that drops this right into your pipeline. There's a lot more to talk about with forms, and we're going to do all of that very soon. Now, let's get to pages. All right, getting into pages. Pages are where we reinforce your positioning with specific information for a specific user with a unique call to action. So first, pages, this doesn't mean that you need to create a bunch of pages. So we don't need a unique page for every city and every state. The simple math there just doesn't make sense once we factor in our cost and our time and the inevitable quality loss that we're going to get when we're doing so many. So if I have 6 products over 4 states, 24 pages, mildly doable. But if I then want to narrow down into each one of those states with a unique city that I'm focusing on, that then balloons to 120 pages. It would just take way too much time and money and energy to implement all this. And then what you're going to see is after a couple months, those 120 pages, only 3 or 4 of them are going to get all the traffic and views. So we're going to be really efficient, and we're only going to build what visitors are actually going to need. And then even for the agencies that we work with here, when we're doing a full brand new website build, we only recommend about 15 pages to start because later on, as you start a new marketing campaign or advertising campaign for a specific product that you don't already have, then we can step in and we can get that built with you or for you. So I like to tell my agency owners to think about the pages that they want in terms of their money pages. So these are the top 3 or 4 revenue driving products. Those are the ones that we're going to focus on first. And again, this doesn't mean that we're going to totally ignore the other products that don't make the cut in the top 4. We can always come back to them later, but we want to start with our big 4 that are going to be our revenue producers. These are the ones we're going to make pages for first. And these are all going to follow a very similar structure. That structure is hero section, pain, outcome, trust banner, coverage specifics, an FAQ section, another trust banner, and then our primary or unique call to action just for this page, and then related links. This is the general outline that we like to follow. Some pages will differ a little bit. Maybe they have an FAQ in a different section, or the primary CTA is above a trust banner or something like that. But this is the general template that we like to follow for, or the general structure that we like to follow for these pages. So let's go take a look at one of them. This is for a agency that does boat insurance on the East Coast. So at the hero section, we want to follow the same checklist that we do for positioning. So our who, what, and why. We cover that. We do boat insurance by boaters for boaters, covers our who, what, and why. We do have this call to action button to get your boat quote. And if we click that, it takes us down to the unique form at the bottom. That is our unique call to action there. And then we're reinforcing this with some trust points here, or trust banners in this case. So backed by top carriers in business since 1986 and award-winning support. We're then going to go down here and do this pain and outcome, talking about the value and the liability of having a boat, the coverage that we would provide with theft and storm and towing, and then our local claims advocacy. We then go down for another trust banner here. This agency is really big on YouTube, doing shorts, and on TikTok and all over socials. So we want to include something like that to drive somebody out, to potentially drive somebody over there, build further trust, and then come back, which all of those platforms would provide a link back to the website. We're then going to get into some coverage specifics here, what you can expect working with this agency. And then we're going to go into our primary call to action, and then our FAQ. And then in the event that somebody gets all the way to the bottom, we can link them out to call the agency directly or start their quote here with this form. This is where we're going to put those unique quote request forms. So this one is specific just to this page. If we had an auto insurance one, it would be specific to that auto insurance page. So now that we have the basics of understanding what we need for our pages, we're going to look at how we can build in proof to all of these pages. All right, now let's go over proof. So this is where we further reinforce our who, what, and why from our positioning step. So we're providing the evidence that you can deliver on what you claim. Again, our who, what, and why is who you serve, what outcome you provide, and why someone should choose you. We always want to put our proof where decisions happen. And we like to wrap these in what we call trust banners. So trust banners are high contrast and distinct evidence about who you are and what you deliver. So there's 2 elements there. There's the high contrast and the distinct evidence. So one is a design element that is truly unique to every single page. And then the other one is the copy or the language that we're going to use. So trust banners can highlight reviews, testimonials, case studies, success stories, credentials, carriers, carrier logos, industry accolades, or any sort of media references. So let's go look at some examples. This is one from a auto insurance specific page that we have, and down here at the bottom where we're asking them to start their quote request form. Above that, we're including a little case study of some challenges somebody had and how this agent was able to help them. And then immediately next to that, we're including 2 testimonials, both with 5-star reviews from 2 other customers on how this agency was able to help them with their auto insurance. So we want to make this proof contextual. So if we're doing a commercial page, we want to include commercial reviews. If we're doing an auto insurance page, we want to use auto reviews, trucking insurance, trucking reviews, whatever it is. And then again, we're always putting this proof next to our CTAs. So let's look at a few others. We have just a really simple on our homepage, all of these different testimonials, reviews from customers that were all left on Google. On our homepage, typically we recommend about 8, no more than 12 on our homepage. After that, it just gets kind of flooded and it doesn't actually provide a whole lot of value. There's like a point of diminishing return around 8 reviews that we put on a homepage. We also talked about this trust banner that is just these 3 simple little pills that can kind of be put anywhere. We can put them here on a section right under the hero, or they can go later on down here by like our quote request form that we're trying to get somebody to reach the bottom to. We can also do carrier logos in combination with one of these banners for pills. This is one thing that we commonly like to do on home pages with agents, is a scrolling carousel of the carriers that they provide, breaks up kind of some text that would be on that home page, and then provides a level of reassurance to customers that you will be able to source a good deal for them. And then under that, we will also include a call to action with get a quote and talking to an agent. We want to present a situation that the visitor might be in and the action that we can help them with. So like in this one, where somebody is looking for car insurance, they might be in a situation where they need something explained in plain English to help them make the right decision. Or maybe this challenge, approach, and result was something that they are going through right at this point, and that really speaks to them and gets them to fill out this form at the bottom to then reach out and get a quote. And again, we want to put these all in context of what this actual page is. So this one works really well for this page, but if this were a commercial page, this one wouldn't make sense. So that is one place where we can't build something once and then copy and paste onto the rest of our site. So now that we understand how we can use trust banners to build proof, we're now going to look at performance. Now getting into performance. The performance of your site is a mixture of the design, so the visuals, and the technical, a lot of the behind the scenes that makes it all possible. Pretty is optional, but fast and accessible isn't an option. The design half of our performance is really simple. We have to ask ourselves, is this readable? Is this CTA readable? Is it readable on desktop? Is it readable on mobile? And is the text readable with this particular background? If the answer to any of these is anything other than yes, we have to stop and fix it. It doesn't make sense to build a website to convert traffic to leads when no one can see your CTA button because your background and your text colors are way too similar. For the design side of performance, this is like 80% of what we should think about. The rest of this is going to be handled by Wirechunk's AI that is intuitively going to know what is going to work for you. This is just the last check that you have to do. Now onto the technical side. We want to make sure that everyone who finds us, whether that be they come from a Facebook post or an organic search, that when they get to our website, they can actually use it. So we have to think about our page loading speeds, our compressed images, our schema.org validation, our lazy loading between the fold, utilizing a CDN, our favicons, our TLS certs, meta titles, meta description tags, page loading consistencies. It's a lot of stuff. But thankfully, Wirechunk handles all of this. Because Wirechunk is handling all of this, the only thing, and probably the most important thing that we need to do, is ensure that our local business data is accurate. What is this? This is a section of code on your website, not visible to anybody, but search engines like Google will use this to better understand the context of your website. This will then help Google to be more accurate, to use this accurate information to rank you for the proper keywords that you're trying to rank for. So how do we do this? We're going to go into our settings here on the left side, and we're going to scroll all the way down, and we're going to click enable local business metadata for schema.org. We're then going to fill all of this in for our business type, description, phone number, our location, and what hours we are open. We're then going to hit save on this, and that's all we have to do. While we're here, one thing we can also do is go in and add our Google tag ID, our metapixel, and if we're using Google Analytics, which we should be, we want to add all of that here so we can capture all of this really good information so that we can use that at some point in the future if we ever decide to run ads. What information we're going to get, we're going to be able to see visitors, where they're coming from, what device they're using, and then a whole bunch of other information that is certainly going to be valuable if you're ever running ads. So now that visitors can see our site, search engines can see our site, and Wirechunk is handling all those technical details in the background, we can get to capturing leads in the final step of the 5P framework pipeline. In the 5P framework pipeline is everything between someone clicking a CTA button and landing in your CRM. This might only feel like a few seconds, but it's potentially the most important part of the framework, because if we fail here, nothing ever hits our inbound. First, we have to look at how we're capturing leads. Most of the time, this is going to be through a form submission, but it could also take the position of a phone call or a text message. Forms on our website are so powerful because we can collect, in theory, an unlimited amount of information, but in practice, we're only going to collect the most vital information to start the sales process. Typically, this is full name, email, phone number, and what product you're interested in. Let me show you a few examples on actual insurance agency websites. So this is an example of our general best practice recommendation for contact forms, where we have full name, then email, then what product they're interested in. This is a two-step process with an immediate CRM injection. This means that if someone fills out the first step, then leaves, or their internet goes out, or something goes wrong, we will still be able to collect this information and then reach out to them later. Obviously, it would only come through with the first step of information, so name, email, and product, but that's better than nothing. This is also where we can start to put in our TCPA or any disclaimers or verifications that are required from our SMS provider. What we don't want to do with forms is we don't want to ask 100,000 questions. Our standard recommendation is no more than 8 questions across the entire form. That being said, on the first part, we don't want to do any more than like 3 or 4. You could potentially have more if you have a really unique form for commercial lines where you want to already have stuff like a business name, website, number of employees, or business address from the start. But other than that, I wouldn't recommend more than 8 questions most of the time. Like I mentioned before, we want to keep this form on the same page as our CTA button. We never want to send someone to a generic contact page if they click a CTA on a different page. All right, so let's say someone fills out this form, they're a really hot lead. Where does this information go? Well, the simple answer is it can go wherever we want. Inside of Wirechunk, we can build out these forms, and then on these forms, our notifications that we can set up can go anywhere. AgencyZoom, HighLevel, AgencyMVP, Ricochet 360, and a few others that we have. If you have another CRM or IMS that you can connect through a standard webhook, you can do it right here. Or if you want a deeper integration, you can just ask nicely and we'll probably just build it for you. You can also use Zapier or N8N through a webhook right here, so you can build any sort of automation that you can imagine. If you don't have a CRM yet, totally fine. You can get leads just to come through an email address, so they will land right inside of your inbox. If you made it this far and all this makes sense, it's a bit overwhelming, but if you want some help getting a website set up for your insurance agency, you can reach out to us at the link below and we can talk about a custom website build just for you. All right, we've covered the 5P framework: positioning, pages, proof, performance, and pipeline. Now let's look more in depth at some real world examples. Okay, let's take a look at another site. This is Callahan Insurance up in the Pacific Northwest. We're going to start on the hero section on their landing page, which in this case is their homepage. So they answer their who, what, and why, who you serve, what outcome you deliver, and why you're a good choice. Then we get into the standard form that we recommend, with a little variation of including the phone in here. For them, that was really important to be able to collect the name, email, and phone number from the start. It still does follow our standard two-step form. So after this, then asking them some additional information and how they'd like to be contacted, and then a catch-all box for more information. Going down, we do include our standard pain and outcome section here on our homepage. Again, being very keyword rich and emphasizing how this agency is different. Compare top carriers and explain your options in plain English. We then include a very similar trust banner here, this 3-pill design that we found to work really well, partnered with A-rated carriers, claims advocacy, and 2 decades of local experience. We then go into another trust banner here with our carriers because we broke it up from this image, this hero section with an image coming down here, then talking about the uniqueness of this agency with their coverage, guidance, and savings. Another trust banner here, and then our carriers that we included. Then immediately under that, we do have another call to action with a phone number. So if somebody clicks this, it will automatically call the agency. And then our get a quote does bring them back up to the contact form. Go over some other policies that they offer as well. They offer this farmer's device protection. So we have a custom banner that's been built for them. So if you click this, they have a unique ID in there, although they will get attributed to this device protection policy being written. Then we include the customer testimonials here, FAQ, and then another unique call to action down here to get a quote and bring them back up to the top. So again, this is a standard best practices have been followed for this landing page, in this case, the homepage for this agency. We'll now look at a specific product page for personal auto insurance. Again, we're going to follow that same recommendation of hero section, pain outcome, trust banner, coverage specifics, and going on. So here in our hero section, again, we're answering our who, what, and why very clearly. And then in this case, instead of having that full form in the page, if you click get my custom quote, it's then going to pop up this form here. It saves a little bit of space on the actual page, and is a different way to do things that we have found to have no impact to actual form submissions relative to the form on the entire page or embedded in the page itself. So same thing. This is a 2-step form. We're asking full name, phone, car make and model, and then on the next page we're asking for email and then a catch-all for any other information. Going further down, we're going into this pain and outcome here, being very specific and emphasizing what somebody's going to get if they work with us. And again, this start my quote will open up this consultation request form there. We're then including some carriers in the form of a trust banner. Going down, getting into coverage specifics. Again, very keyword rich stuff here that we're going to include that somebody would be interested in as they're moving through. We're including our standard FAQ that we want to include on almost every single page. We're including another trust banner. I like these trust banners. It's following our proof formula of situation, action, and outcome. So the situation was rates spiked after a minor accident. The action is this agency compared carriers, stacked policies, and we're able to get them some discounts. And the result is they saved this individual $382 a year. This is the best, one of the best examples of a proof banner here following the proof formula. Again, situation, action, and outcome. Then getting down to the bottom, we have the same form, the one that is up here, and pop-up is just embedded. So throughout this entire page, it's just one form. We're keeping it very, very simple. And then we are including a testimonial here. So we're including our proof banners next to our call to action. So we're including these everywhere that somebody's going to take an action. We include 2 testimonials there, and then the form. And then down here, we are following best practices of related links for internal linking, where we link out to their blog, which they have over here. Campesano Insurance, their insurance agency on the East Coast, really focused on boat insurance. So here in our header section, we're talking about our who, what, and why, who you serve, what outcome you deliver, and why you're a good choice. So who you serve, people that need boat insurance, what outcomes you deliver is you're going to keep it simple, and why you're a good choice. Well, you've been doing it since 1986, and your family talks to their family the old school way. We talk to you. In here, we are also including the form as standard recommendation, including the full name, the email, and then what they are interested in, leading with this boat and yacht insurance. That is their primary product that they are pushing. Immediately below this, we are including some of those proof points in here. So backed by top-rated carriers in business since 1986, and then award-winning support here. This could go in our hero section proper as well, but we did include it down here because if we look on tablet, it does show these down here as well, and this does show on some mobile devices as well. Going down, we include some information about specific policies and how those work. We're being very keyword rich here in this section. They then have a client center that we built out for them to link to. We then show some of their carriers and the logos of some of their partners that they work with, then go through why they are a good choice and how they can work for you. We then include this button, this call to action button for a policy review that then goes back to this same form right here. Going down, they're big on YouTube and TikTok and the socials, so we want to link to that here. This is also used as one of our trust banners in this section right here. And then we list some other products that they offer. And then we get into another trust banner going over their testimonials right here, their FAQ, and then talking about pushing somebody to get a quote down here at the bottom in the event that they made it all the way down to the bottom, takes them back up to this standard form. So this is a very good homepage, very clean, very simple, very oriented towards getting somebody to fill out this form. It is the only call to action on this entire page other than going to YouTube, which would then just drive somebody back to the website in every single one of their videos. But we are just trying to get everybody to come through into this form. And this is a 2-step form. So you fill out the first part, and then the second part would ask you for your phone number and then how you'd like to be contacted. And then that would be submitted. But as with all of our forms, and the standard for Wirechunk multi-step forms is this first step would automatically be injected into their CRM even before step 2 is complete. So in the event that somebody drops off for whatever reason, they would still be able to contact this individual. Going and looking at a specific page following our
standard page format of our hero section. And our hero section still follows the same recommendations from positioning, including our proof points, our who, what, and why. So our who is who you serve is people with boats who need boat insurance. What outcomes you deliver is keeping everything really, really simple. And then why you're a good choice, 5 stars, and neighbors trust us with their coverage. We then included this same proof banner here on this page. Then we get down into our pain and outcome. So some of the liabilities of not having boat insurance and some of the benefits that would come with having boat insurance with this particular agency, like our local claims advocacy. We're then using that same trust banner again. Then going into our coverage specifics and some of the benefits that you would get from working with this agency. We then break that up with some images of the local area pulled from this agency's Facebook page, their Google business profile, and then just some other generic photos of the area that they serve. In here, we then went with putting a boat specific contact form on this page, and then our FAQ below that, and then a catch-all in the event that somebody gets to the bottom and hasn't already taken an action, but they're interested. They can then go up here and it will just bring them right back here. We can also test all of this on mobile and see how everything looks and make sure that everything flows smoothly on mobile, just as it does on desktop here. And if somebody gets to the bottom, they can start their quote and it still brings them back to this same page. So this is a good example of a page that is following our 5P framework and is going to perform. They're following our hero, our pain outcome, our trust banner, coverage specifics, FAQ, a primary and unique call to action, and then another trust banner in here. The 5P framework is the latest version of our best practices for insurance agency websites. This has been informed by over 1,000 websites built by the Wirechunk team and on the Wirechunk platform. We continue to update these best practices as we're testing new ways of converting traffic to leads. If you're an agency owner or the guy in charge of marketing, if you follow this framework, I promise you're going to be leagues ahead of the average agency website. And if you need some help, my team can do it for you so you can focus on marketing to drive traffic to your new site. This has been a long one, and I'm sure there's going to be some questions, so leave them down below and we'll be sure to answer as many as we can.